Good morning, everyone. Admiral Preparedness here. Old subscribers and new subscribers, welcome to my channel today. One of the things that we always talk about is buying bulk food at these large warehouse style club stores. And I don't have a problem with that whatsoever because of the fact that you're getting your the bang for your buck for your dollar. But what I do worry about is how you properly store some of that dry goods that you do purchase from those big box warehouse club stores that ends up going waste. It ends up being wasted either by something getting to it, moisture, sunlight, insects, and vermin. We all have seen in the past videos where somebody has stored grains and they didn't understand uh, quite how grains should be properly stored, but find out that some boll weevil or insect has gotten in there at a very early stage of the storage process and ruined it. Today, uh, I have a large package of Uncle Ben's original rice in this large plastic container. Now, the plastic container is relatively thick, but uh, it's in a bulk form, and if one insect gets in there, it'll contaminate the entire bag. Uh, a pinhole, chew through hole, by a mouse, and then an insect gets in and starts laying her eggs, and then they go hog wild. But in a food grade polypropylene style container, I'm breaking up that large container and putting in a smaller container, which now has less of a chance of being compromised than this entire large container of rice. Plus, it's a lot easier to barter this full of rice than this entire container, because I'm not about to give somebody an entire one of these for barter. It's just not going to happen. It's not in my planet or your planet or anybody else's planet that you would do that unless you're getting something of substantial quantity. So let's get to it and separate these two items. Now, what I like to do is put this on the ground to protect it from being spilt. So what I've done is gotten a box, and I'll put the product inside the box. That way it stores and it won't fall over. If you see how I do this, that's not going to fall. The box here is now got it wedged in there, so that's not going to fall. The other thing you do is take your scissors, of course. You might as well just go ahead and cut all the way across the top, because you're eventually going to empty out the container of the rice. Now, the good thing that I like to do here is I'll take the same container and I'll put my bottle in it, so I don't have to worry about it falling over and spilling and making a big old mess. I hope you can see that. Now, this container has been cleaned out with only water. I don't use bleach or anything like that, for the simple fact that why not? It's just going to contaminate it even more. Now, what I'll do is I'll take my cup, I'll fill it full of the rice, and of course just pour it in. Static electricity will occur to cause the rice to stick to the side of the funnel, but that's not to worry about, folks. That's something you just got to deal with. Doesn't take very long to do this. You don't need to use oxygen absorbers in the container because it'll be filled to the brim. I'm not going to leave any room for air And since the bag itself has oxygen already in it, the rice is only susceptible to moisture, so that's where you have to be your most concerned about anything is moisture. You want the rice to last as long as you possibly can. You got to persuade it, of course, because gravity just needs a little help. Now I'll be able to get about three of these 1 liter containers with all this rice. You know, you want to make sure your hands have been cleaned and all your utensils are clean. This rice here, 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water. I add a little bit more water because of the altitude that we live at. And I'll boil it a little bit longer and then let it simmer for a little bit longer to make it the right texture that I like. I don't like it super hard. I don't like it super soft. You know, it's called the Goldilocks rice, just like the porridge. And see how simple that is? Doesn't take very long to fill up a container, but now you can almost rest assured that you've got a better way to store it. Plus, you know, a big old large container of rice, again, once the insects have gotten to it, you might as well just dump the whole thing, because they're especially if they're moths or like ants, those kind of critters can lay eggs, and you'll end up cooking those eggs and consuming them. And that's not a bad thing, but it's just one of those things where, you know, you get to the back of your head, you're like, man, I'm eating bugs. You know, the manufacturers have strained this stuff, filtered it. I'm sure there's some kind of insect remains in the rice from the processing of it, but you know, that's something you just got to live with. This is the type of rice where you don't want to soak it and drain it, because then you're getting all the nutrients out of it. Just cook it. And with this rice here, it's pretty easy to cook. Again, it's 1 cup of rice to 2 cups, and maybe a 2/3 water, or a little bit less than that. Come to a boil, stir it, let it boil for about 3.5 minutes, and then put it on low for about 25 to 28 minutes. Well, maybe sooner. That all depends on your taste. And then you're pretty much going to have yourself a meal. It will probably serve about 4 people. 1 cup of rice does blow up to be about 4 cups of rice. And as you can see, we're almost to the top. Now what I like to do is take the rice and bang it on the ground, let it compress, let the rice compress. That way every available open space can be occupied by the rice. That way you get all the air out. Now if you've noticed, it's gone down a little bit. That's what I expected, because the rice compresses. I mean, it doesn't compress, it basically just, it allows for more room. Now this time I'll put the lid on it because I don't want it to spray out in case it vibrates. I like to kind of hit it with my hand As you can see, there's more room. And you just keep doing that till you finally can get it all filled to the brim. As the story goes, you want to fill it all the way to the top. Rice is a staple of the planet. With 8 billion people on the planet, rice is one of the least expensive foodstuff to consume, easiest to grow. All you do is find a lot of water. Of course, in Southeast Asia, this stuff grows grows like crazy. If you remember the videos of Southeast Asia, the rice paddies, it was a place where the Americans hated, because you could put landmines in those rice fields, rice paddies, and get a lot of guys killed and injured. And that's pretty much it, folks. Now you've got a barterable container of rice that you can use to trade for anything else. And it's not going to get gotten at by critters. Mice can eat through the plastic, but they can also eat through the plastic of the original container. But now this is not going to be compromised as easily. So, in saying that, if you've got these large bags of rice and that's how you're storing them, you might want to reconsider and put them in these guys. Plus, a little bit easier to move around, and that would be that. Admiral Preparedness. You guys have a great week. Man, here we are, folks. All 3 containers are filled to the brim. They're compacted. That's going to go a long ways in storage. That was 1 full container of the Uncle Ben's converted brand original enriched parboiled long grain rice, and this was a 12-pound container. So what I've done now is taken that 12 pounds and put it into these guys. Now that'll be a lot easier to store as far as space goes. You're not going to allow the entire contents to be compromised if one single little critter gets in there. This is more barterable. It's easier to transport if you have to get these out to some other area where somebody's wanting them in desperate need. They can't. Moisture cannot get into these whatsoever unless they're compromised or opened. You're getting a huge amount of nutrient from these guys. Calories, this is for 1 serving based on a 2,000 calorie diet. Calories are 170 calories, 0 fat, 0 saturated fat, 0 sugar, 0 sodium. Some of the other good things about this food is that you can store it for a very, 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 very long term. Also, if you want to, it's easy to learn how to cook. Again, it's easy peasy. Your rule of thumb, of course, always go by that. 1 cup of this type of rice to 2 cups and a little bit more of water. Let it boil for a few minutes, about 2 to 3 minutes at a rapid boil. Stir it, put it on low, covered, and in about 25 minutes, check on it. Do a taste test of what's on top. If it's nice to your taste, called el détente. If it tastes good to you as far as the texture goes. If not, you let it sit a little bit longer, let the moisture absorb some more into the kernel, and you'll have yourself a nice flavor. It takes about any other flavor you want to add to it. Of course, it is rice. So there you go.